Chapter 2. Bree whirled around. There was a darkly handsome man standing in the doorway. Everything about his appearance spoke rich, from his polished loafers, his pressed suit, to his perfect haircut. She pasted on a smile. "Can we help you?" "I'm looking for Mr. Henson." He assessed the room with gray eyes. "Is he here?" "I'm Henson." Bree wiped the crumbs from off her hand, stretching it out in greeting. She hated tall guys. They put a crick in her neck. "Aubrey Henson, private investigator and bounty hunter." He looked down on her diminutive form in disbelief, even as he shook her hand. "Everett Ramsley." "Would you like to have a seat?" Bree motioned to the expensive leather guest chair she shelled out good money for at an auction of another business that was bankrupted. She bought all the office furniture second hand. It was in great shape and made the fledgling business look solvent to potential clients. Marty whisked the food away, grabbing his rolling chair and laptop to take notes. He adjusted his glasses. Looking like it was against his better judgment, Everett sat. "I was informed that you have a 92% capture rate." "That is correct," Bree boasted happily. She kept track of all her captures and fails, coming up with the stunning average. Now, if she added bingo, it might be a little higher. "I get my man." "What experience do you have with international bounty hunting?" asked Everett. "Jean-Luc Renault," Bree informed him. "He was a fugitive from Europe. We apprehended him in the city." "What about you apprehending criminals outside of the United States?" he questioned. "There are special licenses and permits for that," regretfully said Bree. "I don't have those. Therefore, I can't make a capture outside of this state, let alone this country. But I can do a hired investigation and allow local law enforcement to make an arrest should we find the person you're looking for." "What if he is a criminal and I don't necessarily want him arrested? What if I just want to find him?" Everett watched her carefully, trying to gauge her reaction. "You're the one hiring me and providing the funds to do the search," shrugged Bree. "If you don't want the person arrested, then I won't inform local law. If you decide to hire me, I work for you, Mr. Ramsley." "I have contracted 3 other agencies." Everett apprised her as he stood. "I'm giving each of you the same file and would like an update within 24 hours. The agency that comes back to me with the most pertinent information to this investigation will get my business. I expect exclusivity if I hire you. That means that you can't have any other clients while you work for me. I only hire the best. Good luck, Miss Henson." He pulled a file from his briefcase, holding it out. "You won't be disappointed." Bree took the file, her fingers itching to open it. She laid it calmly on the desk, ignoring it while she waited to see what he would say next. Everett gave her a nod before leaving. Bree snatched up the file. "He didn't ask for a quote," Marty commented as he put the laptop to the side and returned the Chinese food to the desk. He popped a chicken ball into his mouth, appreciating the fried flavor. "Men like him don't ask for quotes. They just send the bill to their accounts manager." Bree read through the information, shuffling through pictures, names, dates, and other relevant info in the file. "He wants a further investigation into David Ramsley." "Is that the guy who the FBI can't find?" Marty asked with his mouth full. "They think he skipped the country. He's charged with international drug smuggling, money laundering, evading capture, and who knows what else." "Better pull up whatever information you can find on him and his family," Bree told him. She grabbed an egg roll, slowing down so that she could take in all the information in the file. "I want to know the whole story so we can start putting together a chart on him." "Do we even want the case?" asked Marty. "Easy money." Bree paused in her reading to raise an eyebrow at her assistant. "That should be obvious." Marty gave her a disbelieving look. "The last time you said easy money, it was 3 weeks ago over a dog. I had to listen to you complain every day about how not easy it was to catch Bingo." I got him in the end. Bree rolled her eyes. This guy is 87 years old. How fast can he run? Fast enough that Interpol and the FBI haven't caught up with him, dryly said Marty. Why are you taking this case? Besides the payout, we both know he isn't going to be easy money. The man has resources, and he's wily in his old age. They say he doesn't have a conscience either. I've gone after worse. Bree leaned back in her chair as she bit into her egg roll. Marty just shook his head. I have a bad feeling about this. What about our golden opportunity? Bree held up the tiny slip of fortune cookie paper. We have bills to pay. You're right about that. Marty typed in his laptop, pulling up information from news sites. They think someone gave him a tip-off about his imminent arrest. The only ones who might have known were FBI. I want a list of all his friends, relatives, known associates, business partners. Bree ticked them off her fingers. Places he has visited, properties he owns. I'll have to speak to the wife. That might not be so easy, advised Marty. When people have this kind of money, they tend to have security. How much money? Bree wondered. Everett Ramsley didn't look like he needed to worry about pinching any pennies. If he was really rich, she could afford to considerably increase her fees just for him. GQ named the family as part of the Billionaire Club, Marty said dryly. Excellent, grinned Bree. Maybe we can make enough off one case to keep us in cash for a year or two. This is over our heads, Bree, admonished Marty. We're staying in the city, small-time crook-catching kind of guys. Not international drug smuggler money launderer catching guys. Renault was a total accident. He adds cachet to my resume, Bree said defensively. She had hit him with her car while pursuing a known purse snatcher. While at the hospital, Renault's identity had been revealed, and Bree had gone from worried about being charged with accidentally hitting a jaywalker to triumphant capture of an international fugitive. She had gotten the bond-skipping purse snatcher 2 days later. These guys are super rich. If things don't go the way Everett Ramsley wants, he could sue us into the ground. Then you would be back to chasing crooks for the local bondsman, warned Marty. Or we could be confident in our skills and get the guy, Bree responded easily. We know how to do this. We talk to everyone involved. We establish patterns. We follow every lead until we find our criminal. It's simple groundwork. In this case, I might not even have to tackle the old guy. It sounds like Everett just wants to talk to him. It's his uncle? Maybe he wants to know where the dear Uncle David stashed all the cash he's been laundering. Marty kept typing away, saving bits of information to a file. Whatever his motive, I'm sure he'll let us know once he hires us. Bree grabbed a tray with chicken fried rice and a fork. Wait a minute. What? Marty looked over with interest. Bree frowned as she grabbed her phone, pulling up a news article. David got around. He has a couple of kids outside of marriage. How is that a big deal? Marty went back to his own work. They weren't publicly acknowledged until this year. Andrew and Molson Colburn both had a hand in getting Michael Ramsley out of prison on the same charges David had. It looks like the old guy framed his son for his crime and almost got away with it. Bree pointed her fork at Marty. I want to know if David had any other affairs, where those women and children are. One of them could be hiding him. I'll put it on the list to research, he typed furiously. In the meanwhile, I'm going to ask Kepler for any information he has on the case. Bree punched in a number. Marty moaned. Not Kepler again. The guy's a total jerk. Maybe, but if I flash a little leg, he'll tell me anything I want to know, smiled Bree. I can't believe you dated him. Marty shook his head. I was young, impressionable, and wanted to get into the FBI. Dating Kepler was a bad move and killed that career option. He owes me. Bree frowned as she got voicemail. Bill, it's Aubrey. I was wondering if you might like to have dinner tonight. Call me.
That seems a little short notice, wryly stated Marty. I'm sure he won't know something is up.
He is a smart jerk. He will know that I want something. Bree shrugged. That doesn't matter. He still likes to trot me out in front of the guys to prove that he's still got it. We will have dinner, meet up with his buddies. I'll ask Bill for information, and voila! Tomorrow we will have the edited FBI file in our hands.
Heavily edited, sighed Marty.
It will still have useful information in it, Bree pointed out. She picked up her cell phone as it rang. Hi, Bill. I was just thinking about you. Everett wondered if giving Aubrey Henson a file was a wise decision. She didn't look strong enough to wrestle a dog, let alone take down bad guys. Her hired help looked like the nerdiest kid she could find. They were very misplaced in that office, which boasted a professional feel. Everett had liked the office, liked the furniture. It was a comfortable, familiar feel. If Aubrey Henson could afford furniture like that, then she must be having some success. The 92% capture rate, if it was accurate, was in her favor. Against his better judgment, Everett had given her the file. The simple folder contained information about his Uncle David and the charges against him. There was a list of potential people to interview, a list of properties, news clippings, whatever else Everett thought that might be handy for the beginnings of an investigation. Everett had called Craymarn this morning to ask for his advice. After discussing it for the better part of an hour, Craymarn concluded that if David did give a confession that he had indeed coerced Robert into laundering the money through the company, it might get Robert's sentence reduced or lessened if they got the right judge. Confused, Everett had asked the lawyer what he meant. Craymarn had gone on to hint broadly that the right judge might be bought for a price. Everett had been pretty shocked, then disgusted by that turn of events. He knew people were fallible. People in all sorts of positions made bad judgments every day. But a man sworn to uphold the law? Everett tersely told Craymarn that he would have to consult with his brothers. He had immediately conference called Dillon and Jake afterward. Dad's lawyer tells me that if we can get David to admit that he coerced Dad, then it could reduce his sentence. Again, how are we ever going to get David to do that? Questioned Jake. First, no one can find him. Second, he won't do it out of love or loyalty to his brother. First, I will hire someone to find David, Everett told him. Second, that's what I need help from the two of you to figure out. With what money? Asked Jake. The FBI swung by this morning to talk with me. And Dillon was right. They're probably coming to talk to you next about your accounts and your data. You are under investigation, too? Growled Everett. They have to know that neither of you had anything to do with this. Did you manage to move over those funds we talked about? Asked Dillon. The ones to help fund the company in the interim? Yes, it buys us a little time, responded Jake. A month, maybe. Not much more. I'm officially tapped out since they've frozen my accounts. I will transfer over some money as well. Just send me the banking codes, promised Everett. You had better do it right away, advised Dillon. I will, replied Everett. He hesitated, but decided Jake and Dillon had better know the lawyer's opinion on judges. Craymarn made a suggestion, one that I don't like. What? Questioned Jake. He hinted that we should bribe the system to get the right judge, one that would reduce Dad's sentence with the right incentive, Everett told them in disgust. Wow, Jake breathed in surprise. I didn't even think that was an option. That is beyond sad. I had not thought that Craymarn would be so crooked that he would be willing to try to pave Dad's way out with bribery. I know, complained Everett. I never thought he would do that. We have always been above board otherwise, in everything that we do. Did Dad say anything about this? No,
responded Jake. He was adamant that he would plead guilty and face whatever punishment the judge deemed appropriate. His main concerns were for us and the company.
Dillon, you've been quiet, remarked Everett. Dillon took a deep breath. That is why Kelly and I got married. A corrupt judge was about to hand over her son to her deceased husband's parents. I had promised her that Bentley would not be parted from her, so we got married to prevent that from happening. The Islingtons had bribed the judge to rule in their favor. It happens. Not often, but it happens.
What else are you thinking? Questioned Everett.
He knew Dillon and his younger brother wasn't done with whatever was weighing on his mind.
I'm wondering if we should do it, carefully said Dillon. If we should bribe the system. I didn't just hear that. Jake bit off his words. I know it's a bad idea. With the press this case has garnered, it could backfire spectacularly if it became public knowledge. Plus, it's wrong, Dillon agreed miserably. I just keep thinking about Dad. Spending the rest of his life in custody, Mom alone for the rest of her life. I hate the thought of bringing his grandkids to visit him in a facility. It's wrong, reiterated Everett. I agree with you, sighed Dillon. I'm just conflicted on it. He is our father. He did a crime. He's willing to pay for his actions, calmly stated Jake. We're not going to bribe the justice system to give our father preferential treatment. That isn't how he and Mom raised us. Which is why I think we should hunt down David, interrupted Everett. We can figure out a way to get him to help Dad's case. Or maybe it will be as simple as asking for a reduced sentence for giving the FBI David's whereabouts once we know where he is.
Could it be that simple? Asked Dillon.
We help them, they help us, suggested Everett. The only thing we can do is ask. Then you'd better move some funds out to use for whoever you hire, Jake warned him, before the FBI comes knocking on your door to freeze your assets. I will get it done right away, Everett assured his brothers. Ending the call, he quickly called his banker to set up some contingency plans. He was glad he had made the calls when not 15 minutes later after he got off the phone with the banker, there was a knock at the entryway. Everett opened the condo door to find FBI Agent Kepler and a few men standing behind him. Agent Kepler, FBI.
Kepler showed off his badge.
We have a warrant to search the premises and seize any evidence pertaining to the case of money laundering and Ramsley Insurance.
Everett took the paperwork, not even bothering to skim it. He would give it to his lawyers later.
Come on in. Where's Agent Law?
He remembered that Agent Law had been the primary lead agent on the case when his cousin Michael was arrested. Everett was glad that Michael had been proved innocent of the charges against him and was now free to be with his family.
Agent Law is busy.
Kepler had a tight smile as he watched his men search the condo. Everett frowned as his laptop was seized. A clerk was writing down the items the FBI were taking. The good news, there really wasn't much for them to take. Most of Everett's files were back in Europe at the tiny office there. 1 laptop, 1 external drive system, 3 USB sticks. The clerk read his list, handing Everett a copy for his files.
Is there anything else I should be aware of?
Everett asked Kepler.
Is there anything I should be aware of, Mr. Ramsley?
Kepler returned the question as he turned his icy blue stare on Everett. Everett chose to ignore Kepler's question. He wasn't intimidated by this man.
I heard that both my brother's assets were frozen by the FBI recently. I was wondering if I was about to face the same issue.
No, Kepler was annoyed.
We couldn't find any evidence of your involvement in the money laundering at this point. With your business activities in Europe, we feel certain that you were removed from the initial crime. Right now, your assets will remain unfrozen unless we find otherwise. Why? Are you worried, Mr. Ramsley?
Not particularly. Everett watched as the men left the condo.
leaving Kepler and him alone. "Tell me, are you any further in finding Uncle David yet? He is pretty old and frail. You would think the FBI could manage to find him."
A muscle twitched in Kepler's jaw, and his icy eyes sparked a little.
"We will get him." "If I were to find out information on David's whereabouts," Everett proceeded carefully, "I would love to be able to help you out by giving you that information, were I to have any." "It would be your obligation as a law-abiding citizen of this country to give me that information." Kepler narrowed his eyes. "If you didn't, you would be aiding and abetting a known felon. That is a crime." "If I were to find out his location," repeated Everett, "would that be considered as part of the sentencing in my father's case?" "Are you trying to bribe me, Mr. Ramsley?" Kepler's voice went venomous. "No, I'm asking a simple question," clarified Everett. "I currently have no idea where my uncle is. I was wondering if it was worth the effort to try to find him." "Don't worry. The FBI will find him," vowed Kepler. "Nor am I about to make any deals."
While Everett was disappointed, he made certain not to show any emotion.
"Have a good day, Agent Kepler."
Kepler took his cue to leave, giving the apartment one last glance, like it might suddenly produce a hiding David Ramsley. Everett was glad to close the door on him. His cell phone was buzzing in his pocket. The call display confirmed it was Craymarn.
"Everett Ramsley here,"
Everett said tersely into the phone.
"I had an idea," excitedly said Craymarn. "If you were able to get David's location, give it to Robert and myself, we might be able to bargain with the prosecution for the information." "Might be able to?" curtly asked Everett. "I want assurances, not maybes. The FBI was here, and Agent Kepler isn't exactly fond of me. He reminded me that if I know David's location, it would be a crime to keep a secret from authorities." "There's no reason we cannot bargain the location in return for a reduced sentence with the prosecution, bypassing the judge and the FBI," responded Craymarn. "It can be done." "Then I will find David,"
Everett assured the man before hanging up. Now he was waiting less than 24 hours for 5 different investigative agencies to get back to him to decide who he was going to hire to find his Uncle David. Bree waited at the bar. She was impatiently swinging a leg as she sipped an ice water. She didn't really enjoy bars, yet this was where Kepler had asked to meet. They would go to the dining area of the restaurant after. He asked for this specific hotel at a specific time. Bree thought he probably had someone he was wanting to impress, an ex-girlfriend or more likely one of his colleagues. He was staging the area for his audience. Kepler had even asked her to wear the red dress. She wore the red dress. Bree had paired it with a shimmering white shawl, high heels, and a gold clutch. Her hair and makeup were perfection. She would play the part of expensive-looking date for the evening. Once they got up to the hotel room, it would be all business and talking about the case. Afterward, she would turn down the nightcap and leave. Kepler wouldn't mind. When they had dated years ago, their relationship had never gotten physical. Bree wasn't sure Kepler was wired that way. However, he liked to have his peers think he was. It didn't hurt Bree's feelings to have others think that they were having an occasional affair. She and Kepler knew the truth. That was the reason she never applied to the bureau. Kepler had intimated that if she did, he would put a stop to her career. He didn't want anyone inside knowing about his personal issues with the ladies. Now they had an interesting sort of trade-off relationship. She occasionally looked good on his arm while expecting information. Adjusting the strap of the dress, Bree looked around. It was a pretty posh place. Kepler had to have spent a lot of money on tonight. Whoever he was trying to impress, they would be important in his career. She was glad she had made the extra effort with her hair. "Hey, babe, can I buy you a drink?" A man came forward. He was good-looking in a beefy young way. Bree spared him a smile. I don't think my boyfriend would like that.
Come on, he wouldn't know. The guy grinned, putting a hand along her back. He isn't here.
He's an FBI agent and owns a gun. Bree turned a little, putting her hand in the clutch, pressing it into the man's abdomen as she blinked up at him guilelessly. I have one too, in my itty-bitty purse. You should go.
Whoa, it was just an offer to buy a drink.
He had a sheepish and slightly panicked smile as his arms rose in the air to ward off her poking with the clutch.
You got issues, lady.
Again, another reason not to buy strange women drinks, Bree sweetly told him.
Is this guy bothering you?
Kepler scowled at the guy, his icy blue eyes boring into him as he approached.
No, beefy guy shook his head. I'm not bothering anyone. I was just leaving.
Bree frowned. It was really annoying how Kepler could instill fear at a single look. Bree didn't have that talent. No one looked at her petite form with any amount of fear. In her line of business, it was irritating. Then again, being tiny meant she was often underestimated. That had worked in her favor multiple times. Kepler would never be underestimated.
Aubrey? Kepler offered his arm. I overheard I've been upgraded to boyfriend.
You were that once upon a time. Bree hopped off the stool and took his arm, offering her cheek for him to kiss, which he did willingly. I just forgot to insert the X in front of the word. My apologies.
I did date you the longest, Kepler remarked as he led her to their table. There was always something about you that made you difficult to let go.
Don't remind me, Bree smiled up at him. It was probably my unbridled enthusiasm for your career, which you killed when you didn't want me to follow you.
You and the FBI would never have worked. You don't like structure. Kepler pulled out her chair for her. It would have been disastrous.
I put up with you and your structure. Bree got settled at the table. That was our first major argument. It had also been their last. Bree wasn't about to let him think that he could determine her life.
Did it work out better for you? Kepler raised an eyebrow. I hear you've opened your own business.
I have. Bree was genuine in her smile. She was proud of her new business adventure. It's going well.
I'm pleased for you.
He set the menu to the side. Kepler already knew what he wanted, what she would want. He always ordered the same thing, no matter where they were.
Now, let's stop discussing business and chat about other things.
3 hours later, Bree had consumed a lovely salmon, while Kepler had steak. They shared a piece of chocolate cake. They chatted amicably over nothing much. Bree smiled, held his hand, and pretended he was just the best thing in the entire world. She allowed him to put his hand on her hip as he escorted her to the lobby before they waited at the elevators.
You know, that dress is getting a little tight. You might want to lay off the junk food a little, remarked Kepler.
Bree rolled her eyes. She would get the dress a size up before she gave up takeout and chocolate. Who was it this time? Kepler knew she was asking who he was trying to impress.
My boss. He's a stickler and a ladies' man. He's coming this way.
They entered the elevator. Before the doors could shut, Kepler pulled Bree into his arms, laying a kiss on her. Bree ground her heel into the top of his shoe. The door shut, and he let her go, grimacing.
That hurt.
Good. Bree wiped her mouth. What was that about?
There have been a few rumors lately.
Kepler sighed, taking out a handkerchief so he could wipe off her lipstick.
I just needed them to go away so I can concentrate on my job.
Bree frowned. She wasn't going to be drawn into this. She had an agenda for tonight. Yet the words popped out of her mouth before she could stop them. What sort of rumors?
That I'm gay?
Kepler leaned against the elevator wall.
I'm not. It's just that it's still a little frowned upon by some of the guys, and I don't want them giving me grief. There's a chance for a promotion in the works, and I can't have anything bungle it.
Are you gay or not? Bree wasn't sure she should be insulted or not. Kepler had shown more physical passion in the last minute than in their entire relationship. Was it her, or was it him?
Some guys actually don't prefer to be physical, Kepler told her quietly. He cleared his throat. Look, Bree, I would really appreciate it if we never talked about this again.
If that's what you want. Bree was surprised he had even confided that much. Kepler liked to be in control of everything and admit to no weakness. It said how much he was worried. She wondered if it would affect the advancement of his career. He was a good agent. His personal life should not be a consideration in how he progressed at work.
Thank you.
Kepler automatically put his hand on her back, escorting her to the room that he had procured. Once inside, Bree shucked off her offending shoes, setting down her clutch and shawl. Kepler lost his shoes and jacket. He sat down on the bed to massage his foot. Next time I'll give you some warning. That would be appreciated. Bree took the chair from the desk, swinging it around to face him. Can we get down to business?
Please, sighed Kepler. What are you looking into now?
The Ramsley case, announced Bree as she sat down. He looked up at her sharply.
You're kidding.
Nope. Bree leaned back, enjoying the comfortable chair. I've been hired to find David Ramsley. I want everything you've got on him.
Kepler raised an eyebrow. That isn't going to happen.
Why not? Bree cocked her head to the side.
I'm the lead in the case, Kepler told her. I know everything.
Then I have hit the jackpot. Bree smiled happily. Spill it all. Tell me every gruesome detail.
Who hired you? Questioned Kepler.
Everett Ramsley. He wants to know where his uncle has gotten to. Bree shrugged. I don't have his motive yet.
Then he was telling the truth when he said he didn't know where David was, mused Kepler.
You talked to him? Bree was curious.
Today. I had a warrant for his computer and files, Kepler informed Bree. We are going through the data to see if he had anything that might incriminate either of his brothers in the Ramsley insurance money laundering scandal.
Everett have anything to do with that? Asked Bree.
Not that we're aware of. We'll see what his files say.
Kepler wasn't going to commit to a firm answer. Let the data tell the truth.
He asked if he found David, if that would affect the outcome of his father Robert's judgment.
Would it? Wondered Bree.
No, not with me, Kepler stated firmly.
Would it be a coup for you if you did bring in David? Bree considered his worry over his career. If we all work together, then you could be the one who ultimately has the information that leads to his arrest. I bet your boss would like that.
He would, allowed Kepler. However, I've already made one deal regarding the case. I don't want to make more and be seen as a deal maker.
What deal? Frowned Bree.
Originally, Agent Law was lead. I found out that he was planting evidence and taking bribes. I made a deal with a police officer to recheck evidence if he could get me absolute proof of Michael Ramsley's innocence and Law's corruption. He confessed as he pulled off a sock. You broke the skin.
Quit whining. Bree ignored his complaint. She knew he had not liked Law. It had probably been a good day for Kepler when he had been able to open an investigative file on the man. You could bend the rules a little bit again, right?
With Law being put under review, everyone is now on a tightrope. Kepler frowned as he inspected his foot. Any false move could be misinterpreted. I have no desire to be investigated. There isn't anything particular that I'm worried about, as I have led an exemplary career. However, just the threat of investigation can lead to stigma.
Would bringing in David be worth it? Inquired Bree. Bill, I'm sure your boss would love the opportunity to brag that his people were smart enough to make a small deal to bring in the fleeing criminal. Or maybe he doesn't even need to know about the deal.
He would know about the deal. It would have to go through him if I wanted to lessen the charges against Robert Ramsley, Kepler told her.
Then ask him. Give him the opportunity to decide. She crossed her legs, leaning in the chair.
That won't work with me, Kepler reminded her.
What? Bree asked guilelessly. I was just getting comfortable.
I will ask. Kepler rolled his eyes. I suppose you want the entire case file.
It wasn't a question. Bree smiled. Having the full case file would be extremely helpful in our search to find David.
What makes you think you can find him before we do? He asked.
What makes you think I can't? Bree challenged him.
We are the FBI. We have an entire team of experts at our fingertips, Kepler said dampeningly.
Maybe that is the problem, shrugged Bree. Your experts have a hard time thinking outside the box that they've been taught. I, however, have no such restrictions.
Then why not tell me what you think?
Kepler began outlining the case, and Bree leaned forward with interest. If you enjoyed this chapter of In Pursuit of a Billionaire, Book 8 of the Ramsley Brothers series, consider subscribing to this channel. This is free for you to do. It helps me with the algorithms, and more importantly than that, you will make sure that you have access to every chapter that is dropped weekly. Happy listening!